You may not see him, but he can see you. Here's your look at the Hiya Toys Exquisite Mini Predator's Invisible Tracker Predator. Exquisite Mini is a new standard settings series for 1/18th scale featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya Toys. For those wishing to track down this Predator and first want to know how tall is the figure, we can go ahead and take this laser tape measure of mine and measure off to the top of his head. Of course, while I'm doing it, I'm going to move over just a little bit because I don't want to clip the arm there. And we're going to stop it right there. If then looking at this correctly, I would like to think I am, you're looking at the figure standing almost 6 inches. It's 5.9 inches in height. We can switch that then over to centimeters, revealing that the Invisible Tracker Predator is 15.1 centimeters tall. Thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provided this sample of all the Predators we've been looking at as of late. To show you some size comparisons with some previously looked at Predators, let's first bring in the Invisible Falconer. That was a nice looking figure, wasn't it? We can also bring in the unmasked Berserker Predator, another Predator we have recently looked at. They're all going to be roughly the same height to one another. Proportionately, I think they also use a lot of the same body mold parts too, like the torso, the arms, and the legs. So that's not really going to change too much even when we're looking at Tracker compared to Falconer. What will be changing though is the different head sculpt that they've sculpted on this clear version Predator. Looking at all but one of the accessories that come packaged with Tracker Predator, I know that might sound like a bit of a cryptic message. I did unfortunately lose one of the things that comes packaged with the figure. We'll talk more about that in a second. Luckily though, the thing I didn't lose was this muddy display stand that we've gotten with all the other Exquisite Mini Predators. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about these because we have certainly seen enough of these as of late. But you've got a nice muddy terrain. As you can see, there's a singular peg on the one side. And flipping it upside down, you've got the little grooves on all the sides of the base. 2 on each side, actually. You can then take these and attach them not only to other Predator display stands, but you can also attach it to other Exquisite Mini display stands as well. Like the Alien figures also had those display stands. The Injustice 2 also had those display stands. Not really sure why I'm doing that with my fingers. But the idea is that you can connect all of these. All you're going to be using is these eye brackets that come packaged with every one of these Exquisite Minis. And depending for yourself which side you want to start with, just insert the eye bracket and then just take then whatever stand you want to attach to it. You can just put them, I mean, again, you can continue this across the room if you have enough of these display stands. So you get that. So we're going to put that to the side. And like I said, we did lose one thing. There was one casualty prior to hitting the record here. When I took the figure out of the plastic tray, all the things that are loose, or all the things that are inside the tray are loose. Unfortunately, though, one casualty resulted in me losing the hand. I have this hand right here. This is the closed fist. The other hand that came packaged with Tracker Predator, I think, was a gripping hand, an open hand. That was the hand, of course, I lost. And sure enough, it had to be clear. Couldn't have been a colored piece that I would have been able to locate easy enough. It fell onto the floor. I'm still continuing to track that down. Somewhat ironic I'm saying that. But I get one of the hands. I have one of the hands for the time being. He also comes included, as we certainly have seen in previous instances as well. Let's flip it around so you can see it. You get yourself a Yautja skull, a Predator skull. Very nicely detailed. It certainly would have made the crystal skull, that Indiana Jones movie, a little bit more interesting if he ended up finding Predator skulls instead of just crystal skulls. As you can see, the front mandibles, they're softer plastic. The rest of it, though, is a more denser plastic, but it does have some nice detailing both on the top as well as on the bottom as well. So you get that. We have seen this also before as well. Putting that to the side now, getting a closer look at Tracker Predator. It certainly will involve, of course, picking up the figure and getting a closer look at it. It has some really nice work detailing going on here, especially when you're seeing it from the side. Now, of course, it would be helpful, very much helpful, I would think, to bring in the other Predator we looked at. This is the Falconer Predator. A personal favorite of mine, yet, you know, seeing them in clear like this, the additional features that they put with Tracker Predator, with the additional tusks sticking out from the front, does bring a lot more character to an otherwise quite clear-looking Predator. The bodies, as you can see, aren't that much different from one another. They adorn them differently, like this one here has all these additional bone, like a little garland of bones across the front of its chest, a little shoulder piece on the top that's going to hold, of course, the plasma caster. As you compare it then to, say, the likes of Falconer Predator, Falconer doesn't have that. It has more of a simple, straight shoulder appliance. The blades also, as you can see here, seem slightly different. The blades themselves seem a little bit more coarser, a little sharper here in Falconer than what we actually get here with Tracker Predator. His seem a little bit more smoothed out. So there is definitely things different between the two. We'll move this one out of the way because we certainly have spent a lot of time talking about that in its own designated review, but we can certainly spend some time now, quality time, time with the Predator, to get a closer look at the Tracker. Again, I really like the idea that having the tusks sticking out like this, it brings a lot more character to a character that normally, in a case like this, you're really not going to be getting a lot of color on. The tusks, in case you are curious, are softer plastic. I think they're less likely to break, if anything, because again, like I said, they're a little bit more softer plastic. I probably wouldn't recommend you doing this to your Predator if you're picking up for yourself, but it's only just to illustrate the softness of plastic. The head sculpt is quite good. Again, when you're looking at a figure like this, something we talked about before with the Falconer, it gets a lot more yellow happening here. A lot of it, I think, can be contributed to the fact that you can see the joints in the shoulders, of course, in the torso, where he's going to get that additional abdomen ball joint. But all of that sort of contributes then to the Predator looking a little bit more yellowish than being clear. The head sculpt still remains pretty clear, as well as the shoulder-mounted cannon, which you can see right there, and as well as the arms and the legs. Those seem to be still staying somewhat clear, because there really isn't anything that has to be connected on the inside of the body. You can see there's the peg there right there, but like the rest of the legs, for example, still have to still remain quite clear, as you see my hand running behind it. Normally, though, paint certainly would have helped a piece like this, but again, I feel there's a lot more stuff going on with Tracker Predator. A lot of it can, again, be contributed to those tusks. Spin around to the back so you can see the way that the figure is designed here. The way that they have sort of the back of his armor here, it in a way looks like the drone from Falconer Predator, though, especially the way it sticks out like this. It is also soft plastic, as well as the dreads on the back are also soft plastic. Again, a really nice detailed figure, all things considered, really, for the fact that they've stripped the color away from it. It really does make up for it, though, in sculpting. Whether this is clear, whether it's full colored, Tracker Predator has a lot of good, interesting character going on for him. For the figure's articulation, the head rotates back and forth. It hinges up and it hinges down, and you can also, of course, rock it back and forth as well. Now, this one does benefit from having the plasma caster, so that does rotate also back and forth. It does not seem to be on a ball joint, though. It only seems to swivel back and forth, and that's it. As for the arms, the neat thing really about seeing these things in clear like this is that, oops, there goes the other hand. I'm going to have to make sure. You know what? Hold on one second. I'm going to grab that before I forget where it went. Whoosh. That could have been unfortunate. Put the hand back into place. Let's resume with the rest of the figure's articulation. So the arms do hinge out at a very comfortable 90-degree angle bend. Ooh, could you imagine if I not had found that? Rotate the arms back and forth. The arms swivel back and forth here on the form and also can hinge back and forth. You know what? Going back, though, to talk about the hands, if I can, just for a second, I noticed this hand, and actually really both the hands, seem very loosely attached to the peg. I may have mentioned this in an earlier review, that the type of plastic that they're using is a very more gummier, softer plastic, and maybe that could be one of the contributing reasons why, not that I lost the first hand simply just fell out of the tray, but why the second hand almost could have also been a second casualty in this review. For the figure's upper torso, though, as you can see, it has an upper torso ball joint. Be careful, though, careful of those straps. You can see that straps across the front of his body. As you're rotating the torso like this, you're going to see you're pulling, you're tugging that strap of clear plastic. Be careful that you don't rip that by mistake. It does also have a secondary ball joint right at the lower abdomen of the body. You can see rotating that back and forth as well. Just again, be careful of that strap. Legs split out. You can bring the legs forward and back. There's a swivel at the top cut of that thigh. Double hinge on the knee. A little loose on the lower leg, unfortunately. And then he does have the articulation in the feet. The articulation is only here by where it attaches to the bottom of the calf. There's no additional articulation here. And the way that, basically the way that they've designed the feet for the predators in that film results in sort of them looking like they're wearing boots. So there's no additional articulation happening there. But that's okay. The figures stand fine. If you do have any issues, of course, with any of these figures standing or difficult standing, then of course make use of those display stands. That's what they're there for. Let's get this guy properly stand. Put him over here. Freeing up a little bit space, of course, to bring then in Falconer Predator. The previous clear Predator we looked at earlier here on this channel. While I will still say Falconer Predator may be my favorite in a color variant, having it in clear sort of then strips away some of the details where I feel then Tracker Predator sort of ends up being my favorite so far of what we've looked at with the clear Predators. The additional tusks there on the front and the additional molding that they put into the helmet brings a lot more character, I feel, on this Predator that perhaps the Falconer Predator in its clear state lacked a little bit of. Well, it just goes to show how important a figure's sculpt actually is. What was originally the silver of my favorite Predators, the Tracker Predator was below Falconer of my all-time favorite designs, at least from that movie. And yet, lo and behold, me taking the color away from that figure, sucking it away from the surface and leaving them clear like this, I find the Tracker Predator has a lot more character going for it. Chalk it up to, of course, the front tusks on the front of the head sculpt. And really, I find the head sculpt is a little bit more elaborate as well. Works a little bit better than Falconer when you put it in this clear treatment like this. Even though technically these figures are clear, there really isn't that much clear coloring when you're looking at them. A lot of it because they're putting those articulation points inside the cavities of the bodies. It sort of then changes the coloring from just a straight clear to almost making them look a little bit more yellow. They still are camouflaged in the sense that they're going to be blending into their surroundings. And by the way, speaking of camouflaging in surroundings, I did end up finding that other hand. I don't know, I just happened to look down just in between the end of the review and taking this figure to the rotisserie. I looked down and sure enough, it was right there staring right back at me. You failed, hand, as being camouflaged into your surroundings. I was able to find it, but thank goodness I was able to find it. It's just basically another closed fist, so that he doesn't actually come with a gripping hand. 2 closed fists. I have them out in my possession. I was able to find them. Camouflaged, no more. A big thank you, though, to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provided the sample of Exquisite Mini Tracker Predator, Invisible Tracker Predator, that we could have a look at in this review. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And if you are new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, you're thinking to yourself, I like this guy's work, but how do I stay involved? How do I make sure that I'm aware of all the new videos that are popping up onto his channel? And bigger question is, why am I even whispering? Well, to answer to your question, whispering sir, you can hit that subscribe button down below. You can turn the bell notification on, and you can also keep your peepers peeled, because there will in fact be more Exquisite Mini reviews lined up and coming your way. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.